Hi everyone. Today I would like to discuss the Kabbalah system itself, how it relates and interrelates and interacts within the trapezoid. That is the tile that is nested within the torus. Metaphysically speaking, if you're unfamiliar with this, if you're new to the channel, please go to the first video that I did on the deep stuff beyond Thunderdome. You'll understand what I'm saying and make your way all the way through to here. Uh, the reason I'm bringing this up is there is a lot of um, spirits captured within the Kabbalah itself, and it interrelates to the Solomon's Lesser Keys, as well as the material that is found in almost all of the deep stuff all the way through to now. So if you ever do find yourself wanting to know what I'm talking about and you don't know, uh, start from the first deep stuff and work your way through. If you are familiar with the work and you still don't understand exactly what metaphysics is, there is a video on my channel called Metaphysics 101 where I explain the background of what metaphysics is. It is a form of thinking and a way of explaining the material. It is the highest study, the highest observation of looking into everything, your relationship to it and it to you in every form. Uh, there will be a lot of information in the current video. The material that will be presented will be lengthy, as I said, and I will be bringing out a lot of excerpts and cite from a lot of sources to explain and stipulate the reason why I'm bringing this material up in the first place. So let's begin, because it's rather lengthy. Okay, so the this is not about the Judaic traditions as such. It is about Kabbalah, but I have to explain Kabbalah in relation to the objects around it or the elements around it. It is also called the pattern, and this is for the pattern watchers who have been following the Kabbalah as if it is their life source. Uh, there's a lot of material out on the pattern watchers. The builders of Egyptium is also mentioned in this material, so this is going to be a very full, um, filled material to peruse, to go through. So Judaic traditions as orthodoxy is not related to Kabbalah. I need to bring this up as the most important thing to understand. So this is not about any particular reflections to any denominations or races or any of that part. We are discussing purely the instrument that has been used. Basically, you're looking at a Jacob's ladder that has been over time being used to slot into the trapezoid. Why am I saying this? Well, the trapezoid is a is based on the Kabbalah, the idea of the trapezoid being used as an instrument to do certain things via the dark magicians and well the malevolent magicians, rather, let me put it that way, because you get light and dark and both are the same actually. um, yeah, so let's go with this. So, as I said, Judaic tradition is as orthodoxy is not related to Kabbalah, yet the ones that are practicing Kabbalah would like to associate it with the Orthodox Judaism, which is where the schism started in the first place. Uh, the pattern watch for the pattern watcher or the watchers of the pattern is also an order. In the English Bible, both pneuma and ruach are translated as spirit, and the spirit is the focus of all powers that is being used for the material gains so that they are able to have a higher control over the influences of basically everyone in this realm. Spirits are being used in this process. And if I say spirits, I'm saying you're looking at not just, like I said before, there is a very small percent of foreign unique spirited entities. The rest are human that have passed away. If you are in practicing in these orders, you will be part of those orders that will be perpetuated for the magicians to use. Okay, if you have no understanding what I've just said to you now, go to the other video, the one about the flipping the runes and the Temple of Set. I'll explain it there much more clear so you're able to understand this material as well. So the point of control is to have over and manipulate and subordinate or subject powers of personality within these orders as well, so that the spirit is able to just be a functioning entity or a form of power source within sigils. Go to Talismanic Lunatic and you will actually see that as well there, where I explained very clearly. Kabbalistic associations, Kabbalah is portrayed as the doctrine of the heart, the very same thing that is quite not actually, because it's the way to how to avoid the heart, but how to use the energy below the heart to do the work. Whereas the reconciling of two teachings that supposedly emanate from one source. Okay, I'm quoting here from Wikipedia. I've got the link there as well. This teaching is essentially also called Lurianic Kabbalah, and it is from a school of Kabbalah named after Isaac Luria, 1534 and 1572. The Jewish rabbi, it is a Jewish rabbi who invented it. Okay, I would say he actually got it from Gnosticism and just reworked it a bit. Most of these religious movements and movements of religious formations, especially if there's a political undertone to it, is based on Gnosticism and Kabbalah, most of them, with a bit of color thrown in just to make it a little bit different here and there. Lurianic Kabbalism gives a seminal account of Kabbalistic thoughts that its followers synthesized with. The word synthesize is what is mentioned in the quote in this new account of Kabbalistic thought, that its followers synthesized with and read into the earlier Kabbalah of the Zohar that has disseminated in medieval circles. Lurianic Kabbalah describes new doctrines of the origins of creation and the concepts of Olam, which is the world, and Tohu, chaos, and Olam, the world of Tikkun, rectification, which represents two archetypal spirit states of being in consciousness. You'll see how this all ties up eventually to the last part of the work. These concepts derive from Isaac Luria's interpretation of the mythical speculations on reference in the Zohar. Of Luria's ideas was Rabbi Haim ben Joseph Vital of Calabria, who claimed to be the official interpreter of the Lurianic system. Just for interest's sake, the material on this is also on a book review that I did, based on the Metatron. We'll put the link at the bottom. Okay, Isaac Luria was exiled from Palestine because of the political influences of Zionism within the Orthodox Judaism culture, I would say. The academia was very much influenced as well. In the academic study of Kabbalah as Lurianism as a historical located response to the trauma of being exiled by the Orthodox Judaism to Spain, Germany, and France, etc., etc. Okay, so basically, this is, as in their words, mentioned here, that this is why it came about, was because of the trauma that from being exiled to Spain, and a fully expressed mythologizing of Judaism, and paradoxical to Orthodox Judaism and Messianic mysticism, as mysticism usually involves withdrawal from community. So it has been suggested that Lurianic Kabbalah was the cause of the spread of the Sabbatean messiahs. Moshe Cordovero, Joseph Caro, and Isaac Luria made Kabbalistic study a popular goal of Jewish students, to some extent competing for attention with Talmudic study, while also capturing the hold of the public imagination. Shabbatism emerged in this atmosphere, coupled with the oppression of exile, alongside genuine traditional mystical circles. Again, the exile thing, again, the belief of struggle. There's a serious fixation on feeling validated in the struggle. It's like basically the example is, if you are in a relationship with someone and that person is not, um, and you had an argument, the parties involved would try to resolve it, logically. However, if one party is so injured, that party would essentially use all of the energy from whatever that person is bringing to fruition to bring peace with, as energy to plug the wounds of trauma, as well as uh, feeding that injury so that it becomes something that this person feels justified in having. Okay, and that is based on this trauma that they've gone through, as well as why there is such a obsessive focus on always being in the struggle and never really getting anywhere. So if you struggle with me, then it means you must be with me. We must be camaraderies, and we must work on this together, so the marriage would collapse completely, but it will stay built on the bones of struggle, to put that part in, because you have to look at it on a personal relationship level as well. This is mostly how most of these things have come about in the first place. So Isaac Luria's scheme emphasized the democratic role of every person in redeeming the fallen sparks as fallen sparks of holiness. That's how they saw themselves, as ostracized and thrown out of the kingdom, and therefore they needed to come back and redeem themselves from as fallen sparks. That it's a transformer from Transformers, the Metatron box, the All Spark box. That's basically how what Kabbalah is about. It's about coming back into the box, get back into the box, so we can all be all sparky in the box. The trapezoid is really a one-dimensional view of this box, actually placed, or a facet of the torus uh, metaphysical field of torus around the realm, or within, in which the realm exists within. And I've said before, and I've said it before, that the realm is extremely or heavily influenced or controlled by that which is metaphysical and that which is physical. More emphasis on the spirit in the metaphysical form than there is in the physical form. So if you've got it all in here, you will be able to project it into this realm. That is how it works. There's a lot more focus on trying to skill and circumcise the thoughts, so that the thinking pattern is specific to their doctrines, to whom, whichever society's doctrine is used, and that includes religious movements as well. It's a bonus if it's mixed up with politics, of course. Uh, Lurianic Kabbalah remains the leading school of mysticism, so they say, in Judaism. Yet I know, and I've looked at older material from the Orthodox Judaism, which mostly speaks about the other aspects in terms of how the spirit and the connection with um, the energy works. Okay, I'm saying it in as much vagueness as I'm able to say, because this has got nothing to do with anyone in particular. But I do need to explain to you that it's part of the Kabbalah is a very um, much used instrument to create a lot of things, as you will see later on. Okay, Kabbalah or with a K or Kabbalah with a Q relates to how it has been expressed through the Hebrew language. Romanized Q with the Kabbalah means reception, tradition, and the other one with the K is the oral. So, however it is being used, is used in that way. A traditional Kabbalist is called a Mekubal, and that means the receiver. The definition of Kabbalah varies according to the traditions of the aims of those following it, so they could change it however they wish to, from its origin in medieval Judaism to its later adaptations in Western esotericism, which they have created as Christian Kabbalism and Hermetic Kabbalah. So Christian Kabbalism with the K and Hermetic Kabbalah with the Q. Jewish Kabbalah is a set of esoteric teachings meant to explain the relationship between the unchanging, eternal God, the mysterious Ein Sof, as seen, as projected as the Ein Sof, that means the infinite, and the mortal, the finite universe, that is now seen as God's creation. Let me explain to you first before we hit it off, so that you have no confusion in your thoughts. The most important thing to understand is that the original creative being, or the original creative force, or the original creative spirit is uh, existing within its own parameters. It exists as a complete form of energy. The universe is not exactly the universe. The universe is the ether measured in time and space. That which flows through that is ether. And when it gets to the torus field around, or in which the realm exists within, when it touches the skin of the torus, it becomes luminiferous ether. Okay. It is not a finite creation. It is just a strata. The universe is a strata, or a medium through which the energy from the original creative force moves through. Okay. It's like the highway. The highway is not a creation. The highway is a go through. Okay. A carriageway, you want to call it that, or a road. Okay. So claiming all of these things and then referring to also saying that the original creator or creative force is the Ein Sof means it relates to Gnosticism, which means it's got a feminine principle or part to it, because they refer to it as a type of Sophia. They don't say it though, but it becomes pretty apparent if you understand. Okay, I need to give you the difference between Orthodox Judaism so that you understand. Again, Kabbalah is not Orthodox Judaism. Orthodox Judaism is the collective term for the traditionalist branches of contemporary Judaism. Theologically, it is chiefly defined by regarding the Torah, both written and oral, as revealed by God to Moses on Mount Sinai and faithfully transmitted ever since. Okay? Orthodox Judaism therefore advocates a strict observance of Jewish law, which is to be interpreted and determined exclusively according to traditional methods and in adherence to the continuum of received precedent through the ages. It regards the entire halakhic system as ultimately grounded in immutable revelation, essentially beyond external influences. Key practices are observing the Sabbath, eating kosher, and Torah study. Key doctrines include a future Messiah who will restore Jewish practice by building the temple in Jerusalem and gathering all the Jews to Israel, belief in a future bodily resurrection of the dead, divine reward and punishment for the righteous and the sinners. Okay? So Kabbalah is infused with Orthodox Judaism here. You can see from the different writers at the different times how each one feels about the situation. So I'm giving you all the versions of what I actually saw for you to decide for yourself. Orthodox Judaism is not a centralized denomination. Relations between its different subgroups are sometimes strained, and the exact limits of orthodoxy are subject to intense debates. Okay, so that's that. Then Orthodoxy perceives itself ideologically as the only authentic continuation of Judaism throughout the ages. It is monotheistic, as it was until the crisis of modernity in many basic aspects, such as belief in the unadulterated divinity of the Torah or strict adherence to the traditions when ruling in matters of Jewish law, and so on. Uh, Thus, the term orthodox is often used generically to refer to tradition, even if only at the default sense of being unrelated to the modernist non-orthodox movements, synagogues, prayer rites, observances, and so on. So not to be associated, as I said, with what I've just mentioned here now as well. Concealed and altered orthodox teachings is found in the Lurianic Kabbalah and its later commentaries and variety of the schools of Hasidic Judaism and Neo-Hasidism, incorporating Neo-Kabbalism in non-Orthodox Jewish denominations. As you can see, as you are hearing what I'm telling you, it just trickles around and mixes up whatever. Is there any political reformation that has not been interfered with the original structure of traditions and beliefs? I think that the entire law system in the world, systems in the world, has a very strong Kabbalistic focus on laws itself. So I think there's quite a great deal of reforming as you speak, as they often do. Needless to say, my focus is not on exhuming the information on any particular religion or sect, but to focus on the actual Sephirot diagram or the meaning of the Sephirot itself as well, or the tree of life, which is mentioned in the Kabbalah, which is which is a form of control over the system and looking into the system overlay. So it controls the system overlay, the structure of how it operates. And a lot of secret societies are very, very afraid of going out of those, let me say, coloring out of those lines. So, like I said, think of a ladder from the ground up past the two towers and the sun, which is the sun and the moon, and reaching out to the heavens where it's possible to um, key into the trapezoid even more. So, magic is involved in Kabbalah. Where is it not these days? I ask you. The Magico-Talismanic traditions of Practical Kabbalah, this part that I'm just saying here now, the Magico-Talismanic traditions, the article was removed 2 weeks ago. It was there all that time, so I had managed to find this article prior to someone removing it from the Wikipedia site. The Magico-Talismanic tradition of Practical Kabbalah, in often unpublished manuscripts, endeavors to alter both the divine realms or the understanding of the divine realms and the world using practical methods. while theosophical interpretations of worship see its redemptive role as harmonizing heavenly forces. Practical Kabbalah properly involved white magical acts. They say so. They say white magical acts, and was censored by Kabbalists for only those completely pure of intent, as it relates to lower realms where purity and impurity are mixed. Consequently, it formed a separate minor tradition shunned from Kabbalah. Practical Kabbalah was prohibited by the Arizal until the Temple of Jerusalem is built and the required state of ritual purity is attainable. End quote. So far, I've been citing, and I should be saying quote, quote, quote. I hope you understand. Citing again between magic and practical Kabbalah, the schema or the Shema as a performative praxis. In 2021, an article that was written, and I will be citing from it as well, from the paper from the Israel Museum, Jerusalem. The link is available. Quote, magic is theory. We, in brackets, do not engage in magic. They, in brackets, do, or often she, in brackets, does. Magic, or kishuf, is forbidden in the Torah and again in the Mishnah and the Talmud. And those who practice it are to be punished with death. End quote. Next quote, you shall not be led by sorcerers, from the Torah. This is what they say about these things. Okay, so you must understand. I'm giving you all the dynamics so that you're able to see where we're going with this. Okay. Next, cited from and saying that the rabbis determine that a sorcerer, man or woman, should be sentenced to death by stoning. Needless to say, in view of such explicit laws, we, and especially our social and cultural leaders who are endowed with ritual power, is power resulting from ceremonial actions, do not engage in magic. And they keep referring to this. This is from their own stuff. Between magic and practical Kabbalah, the Shema as a performative praxis. This was written just a few years ago. Okay, so they're trying to to move away from the magical aspect. And they write here furthermore, and yet Jews have endorsed and continue to endorse rituals that may, from our 21st century perspective, appear to be magic or sorcery. Many scholars have discussed this phenomenon. Some address the theurgic aspect of sacrifices in ancient Judaism, that is, the human attempt to invoke the action of a deity through ritual means. That deity is a spirit from another person. Some examine the activating aspect of prayer, including Itamar, who determined that words used in prayer are no different in principle from those used in magic, and that religious ritual, particularly that which is accompanied by special words and formula, has an inherently magical nature. And then he says furthermore, others have gone even further, such as Moshe Edel, who proposed that magic be viewed as a system of practices and beliefs that presupposes and the possibility of achieving material gains by means of techniques that cannot be explained experimentally and include within it numerous aspects of Jewish thoughts and rituals. End quote. Then the next paragraph, the next citing, and I will put the link of that paper for you down so that you're able to go and read it for yourself. Uh, the phrase Jewish magic is therefore an ethic term aiding those examining Jewish culture from the outside. In the traditional Jewish uh, language game, normative, law abiding Jews let alone prestigious rabbis and Kabbalists, do not perform sorcery or magic. Instead, we use holy names and adjurations, write amulets, and apply sekulot and refuot, legitimate charms and remedies, for the purpose of protection and empowerment. Consult with holy rabbis and masters of the divine, name that the most famous of which was the 18th century Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, known as the Baal. Yeah. And since Kabbalah has spread and gained influence, we also have Mekubalim, which is Kabbalists versed, like I've said to you, versed in the secrets of Kabbalah. Uh, yeah, this group includes practical Mekubalim concerned with not merely with theoretical knowledge, but also with its practical implications, some of who are quite famous. All share a capability, as they or their followers attest, for activating supernatural forces by ritual means and affecting the world through them. End quote. Next site, Summoning Demons. The Jewish version of the Wisdom of Solomon, based on the 15th century Christian demonological work, is believed to have been written in the late 18th century. The text provides instructions for the preparations of a book of spirits through which one may summon demons. End quote. Right. So how does this affect the trapezoid? How is this incorporated in the trapezoid? Just go to the first video. Go to Beyond Thunderdome and you'll understand. And then go to the sledgehammer and then go to every other video after that, so you'll be able to understand why it's incorporated into the trapezoid. It forms the belief system for the trapezoid to function in the way that it does. And when I say the trapezoid, I'm referring to that symbol of the diamond-shaped symbol of the black and the white, which I will be putting in the diagram as well. Okay, so I think it's becoming quite evident that you are now seeing why there's such a big drama about trying to incite magical stuff, because they've just realized that they suddenly could do that. Kabbalah diagram is perceived as a formulative key of 10, which is in itself also a trellis that locks into the trapezoid. That magical trapezoid that fits nearly into the skin of the that fits neatly into the skin of the torus. The torus is the metaphysical representation of the mythos of the bull. This is new information for you. They freak out when I bring these informations in. Kabbalah is the principle of oral teachings that relates to how to control and manifest what you want in the world, to control the world, in other words. Coincidentally, the heraldic shield of the great Rothschilds is also in the same shape of the Kabbalah symbol. You don't have to practice too hard to put that shield inside of there. So now you know that basically the whole thing is about a giant illusion of control. Lots of rituals have been done to get this accomplished, and I will give some reference to the rituals that have been done. Be mindful that this is seen also as a ladder or a trellis, which is what I call it, a trellis that is stapled into the trapezoid. So the original form of energy, or the original creative force, exists freely, as I've said, as I've explained before, and it's always perceived as on. And the information on that is in the last video, Talismanic Lunatic, if you want to find a little bit more detail on what I'm explaining. I am talking about the Kabbalah, that thing that is attached within the structure of a trapezoid, in which many other cults and religious movements and societies, secret societies, and ministries have keyed into. Okay, so the Kabbalah system is a magical system which also has its roots in the magical squares, which I'm not even going to go into. That's a subject for a completely another day, if even. Is an occult mnemonic system And this means it means that information is deliberately concealed from you so that you are able to be forced to only see certain things that are opened up for you as you progress in your studies. Now, I've got another. So, Kabbalah is a mnemonic device. A mnemonic device or memory device is for learning techniques and aids in retention of information in the memory, a human memory, not AI. Although I can think that they must be doing that as well, who knows? A device made up of patterns. 10 spheres are also related to Moses' 10 commandments to lay them down as a foundation for you to literally only operate within a parameter of 10 directions. In the same manner, tarot, which is a reference to it as well, related to 78 phases of a life path or phases of a life path. And those who read them may, I always think on the side note here, if you're a psychic and you read from the tarot cards, then do you not limit your conscious spiritual gift to only 78 cards? Although I see many people do tend to expand on their spiritual gift while they're doing the reading and they're using it as a display model. So a mnemonic device is a device such as patterns or letters, ideas or associations that assist in remembering something. And just before I continue, this is not, uh, uh, the material is not to go against tarot, but or to anything like that, or those who even use it. Um, I'm just saying there's more to it than obviously what it is presented as. And I think the structure is changing. For example, Richard of York gave a battle in vain for the colors of the spectrum red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet in reference. Gary Lee, I'll give you the link of that so you can see where he wrote about the mnemonic device as well. And there's a quote from that material that he wrote. The quote is: the Sefer Yetzirah instructs the reader to approach the weaving letters as knowledge. A letter in itself only has knowledge if it is pre-programmed to present certain knowledge. A letter essentially is actually dead unless there is something used with it. So the alphabet is restricted as well deliberately to induce the idea of concealment with and isolation of each letter. So you're looking at something that is opening up, you're seeing letters, then it's closed up. It's basically like a game. One who employs it breaks it up for and forms their own unique ideas or forms from it, which is symbolic for liberating each letter in itself, meaning, which gives you another meaning. This is why you can never really say what exactly are they actually saying, because they're doing it deliberately so that it looks like it's far-reaching and very encompassing. I would actually just call it hoovering your brain. Just keep in mind while that what is within you already before you even look at everything. So this is very much like the Rorschach symbol that is shown to a person, and what is inside of them will give the interpretation to that person that's holding up, or the material for that person to look at. So you're looking at the system overlay in relation to the torus model. So remember from the last video, the Talismanic Lunatic, where I've explained how the original creative force or energy projects energy, and where the energy touches the torus field, where it then becomes diluted by way of the interpretations of it. And so this is basically a misinterpretation or an incorrect interpretation of something that is original, and the frequency is tainted. And so through tainted frequencies, you get all these secret concealment, isolation, practice, magical spy game information that you can never really understand. All you're looking at is just a bunch of dirty glasses in different degrees of dirt in the glass through which the information is coming into. Pre-Kabbalistic texts such as the Sefer Yetzirah were influenced by the Pythagorean and Platonic ideas. So Plato was there. You can see Platonism pretty much everywhere. It's mixed up with all kinds of derivatives and ideas. At one time, the ancient symbol of the tree of life was expressed as a trinity of triads with the 10th sphere or sephira pendant at the bottom of the tree of nine above. Okay. So before Kabbalah or the receiving of the tradition existed, there was a secret tradition being passed down from generation to generations by, as they call it, adeptus to their apprentices. This ancient tradition was held within the priestly class mostly. So if he made a mistake in how he interpreted what he understood and he shared it to his apprentice, the apprentice would repeat the same mistake and maybe add in even more color to it. Yeah, they found traces from the ancient traditions, remnants of it from within the Indus Valley, spreading west to Mesopotamia and East China initially. The Hermetic Arabic text known as the Picatrix became the source text for later alchemists and hermeticists of antiquity, where the whole thing, yeah, where it all now starts to make sense, I hope. So I've cited from a book that was written by Francis A. Yates, uh, The Art of Memory, written by Dame Frances A. Yates, where she writes, quote, reflected on a topic that she defined as a Renaissance occult mnemonic system, a magical memory system by which to grasp both the macrocosm and the microcosm of the divine intellect. So capturing it, putting it into something like that is, if the basic images used is in such a memory system had talismanic power to draw down the celestial influences and spirits within the memory, such a memory would become that of the divine. Are you understanding what I've just said? Let me read the quote again. If the basic images used in such a memory system had talismanic power to draw down the celestial influences and spirits within the memory, such a memory would become that of the divine man in intimate associations with divine powers of the cosmos. Okay? It does not work like that. The connection is completely incorrect. It works the other way around. I've been saying it for many years on this channel that energy comes from within. Yes, you are experiencing the connection with the original creative force continuously coming in. What you do with it is your choice, is how you present things across. If you are able to work on who you are and how you are in a loving space towards yourself, you're able to have a higher, more pure, less diluted frequency within the connection of the original creator, as opposed to seeing that maybe everything that's coming to me, I can just taint it up with my other thoughts, and then I can just present another idea, and that must be God, because that's how it works, right? Incorrect. Okay? Incorrect and flawed way of thinking. Does not work like that. Furthermore, such a divine man's memory, quote, such a divine man's memory would have the power of unifying the contents of memory by basing it upon these images drawn from the celestial world. Okay? Such a divine memory would enable the initiate to read off at one glance, through inspecting the image, the whole contents of the universe, end quote. Let's all be super uber mensches, right? On the side, off the cuff, Tracy Twyman wrote a book, Genuflect, where she explains this very same thing in how it operates. I will put a link down. The book is extremely explicit, but it explains the explicitness of this very same belief system of what I've just read to you. And this is what this video is about. It's about taking things, drawing conclusions and making that look like it's divine of something. A divine. Divine means divine and means divided. You are dividing yourself from yourself. Okay. So let me just refresh your memory here, your thoughts here. Think very carefully on what I'm explaining to you. So to remind you of how the energy actually operates, the original creative force is infinite, eternal, and spirited. It is infinite, always perceived and understood to be on. I will repeat that. It is on. It is alive. It is functioning as an independent form of energy. I can't say form because it is without form, but it is a position or space of energy that is continuously on. Okay. Language cannot explain what it is. Okay, human language does a disservice to it. Okay, this energy is implosive, contraction, or explosive, magnetic, and dielectric. It is only perceived as masculine when a masculine focused person perceives it. Okay, therefore, you cut off the other parts of the entirety of who you actually are when you have masculine in you as well as feminine within you. And these are principles of how your spirit reasons. So, by speaking about something, the lecturer is presenting as masculine, even if it's a woman, because the way of speaking information means to bring things in. The students that are listening to the lecturer are presenting as feminine in principle because they are receiving information coming into their womb, which is in your thoughts and how you are responding to it. Okay, that is the simpleness of it. That is how you should understand it. You are not polarized, you are whole. Okay, to see yourself as either this or that um, on a metaphysical spiritual level means that you circumcise off the parts that are inside of you. You choose not to have that inside of you. Okay, this is not about gender. Masculinity and femininity in gender is not related to this information that I've just explained to you. This is also where they're trying to um, draw all of the focus to the physical baseline underneath so that everyone must go gender neutral. Okay, that doesn't even exist. The word gender neutral means that there is no gender. It is incorrect as well. If you are gender neutral in your spirit, then you are a eunuch. That means that you have nothing to define you as anything. You are nothing then. You are a no thing, an off thing. Always sending energy and permeating energy into the system. The original creative force always sends energy and permeates it into the system through the ether known as space and time, misunderstood as universe. Okay, universe means measure of one unit of perception, of understanding what is coming into my consciousness and my being. This means that that energy that then comes through that measured space is ether, and when it hits the torus becomes luminiferous ether. Okay, that is the simpleness of it, of the metaphysical representation of the torus model itself as a field information. Then that yeah, I think you get it now. So all reflections and languages are based on people's perceptions and understandings and trying to decipher what they see while they stare into the energies expecting for external salvation to come to them. This is how the many religions have been created and how many belief patterns and belief systems have been created. If you're looking for something outside of you, you will be duped and fall for everything. Everything that I'm discussing to you has a metaphysical perspective which is within you, and what is outside of you is the result of it. I would advise go to the talismanic lunatic video where I explain about the original creative force as presenting primary and how it becomes diluted, secondary, tertiary, fourth, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. It's all in that video, the last video that I've made before this one. And that those who are receptive to it, depending on how dense they are in terms of their consciousness, dilutes the information to such an extent that the information is falsely presented. So the closer you come to being fully connected into who you are through your heart, which is not just your physical pump station, but your way of thinking and how you're reasoning on things, the stronger your energy starts to become, the more you start to radiate into a higher frequency, the more you are connected and in more connection and communication with a much purer frequency that is coming towards you. Okay. And loving yourself does not mean that you worship the world. Let me just correct that again. Okay, because there's some people that believe that if you speak of loving yourself, if you express love in yourself and you do it in a balanced way, then you are a threat to their struggle. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this struggle? It's always a struggle that has to be warranted and validated through being nasty fuckers. Okay, I apologize for the swearing. Energetic structure of the Kabbalah diagram is talismanic in nature. The root focuses on your base chakra level, focused on ideologies there, okay, which is concealed. And let me say, this is nothing else other than the constructed belief that Adam was naked and vulnerable. So they're playing on that idea and that it was sinful, okay. When the question was, when he asked, he felt naked because he felt naked in himself by being by feeling that he was not aware of the information, of the wisdom, of whatever was being presented to him. He didn't need to have a fig leaf, which is the Kabbalah, as what they're thinking, because they're very much focused on the gonads, Kabbalah rituals, very, very focused on the base level, base chakra information, and keeps it there. If it was something extremely good for the nature of humanity, do you think that it would have withstood so long? I mean, we've now noticed that pretty much things that are made with artificial stuff last longer than original organic things. I think that is a very good analogy. So, in order to formulate and hold structure in the creation of Earth as it leads to believe, certain beings, let's call them archons, must be invoked and circumcised and ritualized, much like what they've done with the spirits that were trapped in the Solomon's rings, which are now not trapped anymore. The very same rituals have been done as well. And if you need to understand how it was done in detail, and as I've said very graphically, it is in the novel called Genuflect by Tracy Twyman. She is just one of the many writers that have discovered this information. Okay, so this means to lower one's body briefly by bending one's knee, and that is what genuflect means, to be subservient to that which is the base chakra level, base god, the god of the basement. So there is degree, yeah, obviously, and these are degrees of depths. You can this is not the underworld, but the base level belief system in making everything physical and material, and believing that I want to have a rich life, so I want to do magical rituals to call a spirit up, to go and steal and or give me that person's or read for me that person's Akashic records, or do a background check on that person to distress them, or hunt them around, or hack their laptop, which is what happens all the time, because that just tells me how serious the information is. Base chakra level fear porn in a bad way. Okay, of course, the depth of this degree of rituals are not mentioned. I'm not going to bring up the depths of it, but common sense should tell you that the frequencies being used for the energy to hold power over the domain and age is done by ritually invoking the aeons or the archons or the celestials, however you want to call it. It's the same thing, named in a different way by various societies, so they do change the names, to come into the vessels of various victims. The summary of that, so that certain actions are invoked for them to perform. If this is the case, then you are looking at mass forms of conjuring spirits into vessels. As I've said before, people that have died before, their spirits are just put back into certain things to be a certain form, to be something, and on a larger scale for much more, to be able to control or ascertain the control of the reality or the realm. But as you know, when it's being discussed on this channel, things are being exposed and leveled out and made even null and void, which is where we are going towards now. So let me break this paper doll down for you. Kabbalah is a magical technology. It is based on memory. It is handed over orally and perceived and believed to be divinely revelatory to further the contemplation of distinct forms of perceptions of God. I'm saying it, perceptions of God, ideas, the God of the dollar, the God of the JSE stock exchange, the God of Mithras, the God, men wanting to be gods. Okay, this is why I do not call the original creative being or the original creative force anything uh, in relation to man-made words. It is an insult to something that is absolute pure. While you contemplate on being saved, the receiving any form of communication through this process within deep prayer or meditations or even actions delivers to you certain received symbols. Okay, so through their prayers and their rituals and things, they receive these symbols and things. And normally when they are praying to be saved, okay, praying, stalking and looking for that vessel, that thing to hunt, praying. So whether the symbols are represented by letters, strokes of a brush, or temple mosaics, they are dealing with the concept of concealment and revealing. So it's always eyes wide shut. They're in that term, eyes wide open and shut, concealment and revealment. The symbolic literature of the Kabbalah can be seen in the revealed images. The word golem has been selected since the study of the Sefer Yetzirah is considered successfully when the mystic attains the vision of the golems. That means they are able to see into your head by using the magic of that thing. They see you as a golem because you're useful. They believe that there is a perception of they are familiar, they're aware, everyone is aware of the original creative force of energy, but it's perceived and understood in a different way, for most part, as you know. They perceive it as Ein Sof, like I've said before, and they see this as the first cause and causes of cause. They also believe that the Ein Sof underlies everything and links everything together. Okay? But at the same time is beyond understanding and definition, which is incorrect, because the only operating frequency that allows you to communicate and to be in absolute communication and reception of information all the time is through self-love. That is the only way. If you are a vengeful, malevolent person, you are operating in choice by doing something in a different way, and you will receive nothing, and you will do a lot of things to get nothing, and you will then choose and choose and choose all the way through by your choices to be in an anti-creation space. So on a side note, the original force of energy is not causal. It is infinite. There is no beginning and end. Okay, keep that in mind. It is infinite and no beginning or end. It is not the cause of all things, it is all things. Man chooses to behave in a reactive manner or a responsive manner to enact on his choices causes or effects. This is how you need to understand that logically. Kabbalah sees the original creative force as, like I said, Ein Sof, or as an energy or as causal, like I've just explained to you. In seeing the Ein Sof as the first cause, quote here, the Kabbalists also believe that the universe and all that is in it is an expression of the divine will of wisdom. In a sense, the universe is a space of time, like I've said, a measurement of space and time, and is projected into existence by observing it. Okay? The universe is merely a substrate of the luminiferous ether to flow through. Universe perceptions of space is measured ether and time. Okay, so the book of concealed mystery. The book of concealed mystery is called this because it asserts that the light of God, as they believe, the infinite must be concealed in order to be revealed. Does that make sense to you? Kabbalists believe that God is beyond understanding, contemplation of Him and pray to Him who is present in all things, can transform our minds and thoughts and bring us closer to Him. Okay, so let me just say this. If you still don't understand what this material is about, then um, perhaps you should ask me and I'll explain it again. But I think it's pretty obvious that this is where they're going with this material. So if you don't know who God is, then you don't know what love is, because God is essentially a loving force of energy, because it is a loving energy. That it is actually that simple, and there's quite a yeah. Anyway, let me move on. So concealment is why there are many mysteries and corrupt elements that can get away with shit in the background in the dark, so that it can be said is it's all concealed for the greater good. There's the reveal. We do things in the dark so that it's for the greater good. That's the reveal. Okay. So that's how it works. That's the model. It's always been the model to do things in the dark. So concealment is needed to reveal something. Okay, like I think you get the idea now. So then there's another one that follows the Kabbalah quite strictly, and they are called the builders of Aditum, and Kabbalah is also heavily influenced through these, or heavily influences these, this society as well. Their anagram is Bota, the roadmap for structuring the Kabbalah into the trapezoid. Okay, these guys. Roots from Hermetic Order of Golden Dawn and the Masonic Blue Lodge. Bota believes that the Kabbalah is the mystical root of both ancient Judaism and original Christianity. People of all faiths and soul and are accepted if they are mystically inclined. Okay, they are also materialists. Right. If you are focused on the physical, you will see. For members of the POTA, the means whereby higher consciousness and divine illumination may be gained include both theory and practice. These teachings and practical secrets constitute what the builders of the Adytum refers to as ageless wisdom. It is called ageless because they believe it is not susceptible to the mutations of time. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, they call it ageless so that it will always be eternal and infinite. It's just a way of explaining that I'm making sure that my work is forever. Ageless wisdom is not viewed by the BOTA as merely a product of man's thinking. It is written by God upon the face of nature, and is always there for men and women of all epochs to read if they can. Notice that if they can. End quote. The Golden Dawn was the first of three orders, although all three are often collectively referred to as the Golden Dawn. The first order taught esoteric philosophy based on the Hermetic Kabbalah and personal development through study and awareness of the four classical elements, as well as the basics of astrology, tarot, divination, and geomancy. The second or inner order, the Rosea or the Rosea Rubia or Aureus Cruces, taught magic, including scrying, astral travel, and alchemy. The third order was that of the sacred chiefs, who were said to be the highly skilled. They supposedly directed the activities of the lower two orders by spirit communication with the chiefs of the second order. Successors or supporters of the Golden Dawn that help, as you can see. So you see Qaballah, and then you see the builders of the Editum, and then you see all these other little sub organizations that are trying to make sure that it's just another one of those cups that have got dirt in it that is using the same information, like I said, and there you go. It's just a repeat and repeat and repeat of the Russian doll. It just keeps going and going and going. There's another successor here called the Alpha et Omega, was an occult order initially named the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, co-founded in London. Samuel Little McGregor Mathers. The Alpha et Omega was one of four daughter organizations into which the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn fragmented into. The others being the Stella Matutina, the Isis Urania temple led by A.E. Waite, the writer of the Holy Kabbalah in Practical, okay, and others, and Aleister Crowley's A.A. Yeah. Following a rebellion of adepts in London and ensuing a public scandal which brought the name of the Golden Dawn into disrepute, Mathers renamed the branch of the Golden Dawn, remaining loyal to his leadership to Alpha et Omega sometime between 1903 and 1913. End quote. Rosicrucian Order of Alpha et Omega was also then brought in. All of the temples of the order appear to have gone out of existence by the Second World War. Excuse me, so they say. That doesn't mean that it has. The Isis Urania temple is just probably given another name like the CFR, probably, or one version of it, or the WEF, or the UN, or you name it, National Geographic. The Isis Urania temple was the first temple of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The three founders, William Robert Woodman, Westcott, and Samuel Little McGregor Mathers, were Freemasons and members of Societas Rosicruciana and Anglica, etc. It continued as one of four daughter organizations into which the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn fragmented into. Also, I think, are you getting the picture now? The next one, Stella Matutina, or the Morning Star, was an initiatory magical order dedicated to the dissemination of the traditional occult teachings of the earlier Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The order, originally the outer order of the Stella Matutina, was known as Mystic Rose or Order of the MR in the outer. So they are operating in circles. Then the next one, a magical organization described in 1907 by occultist Aleister Crowley, A whatever. I'm not trying to even figure it out. Its members are dedicated to the advancement of humanity by perfection of the individual on every plane through a graded series of universal initiations. Okay. Its initiations are syncretic, unifying the essence of Theravada Buddhism with Vedantic yoga and ceremonial magic. Okay, you're just looking at tantric magic, tantric sex magic. The AA applies what is described as mystical and magical methods of spiritual attainment under the structure of the Kabbalistic tree of life, and aims to research practices and teach scientific illuminism. AA is often held to stand for Argentum Astrum, which is Latin for silver star. However, see the sections of names below, of course. The AA claims to have been present in all societies and epochs, although not necessarily under that name. Much like what they do these days, change the names and then it looks like it's gone. Remember, don't forget, conceal, reveal, right? Remember, those who control astrology control the age, or believe that they do control the age. And epoch is an age. Its name has changed to Silver Star or Silver of Star of Sirius or Star of Sirius. Builders of Agitum, also anagram Bota, like I've said, in link here. Comprehensive course of studies in the esoteric teachings of the Western mystery traditions was founded in 1922 by David Paul Foster Case, a renowned occultist and scholar who was initiated into the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and everyone just spews the same flavors. Bota is dedicated to preserving and transmitting the ageless wisdom of the Kabbalah, which is the foundation of all mystical and magical systems. When I went through that book and I was actually going through the notes, I saw that there was a part that was written there about asking if it's possible for eternity to happen so that man can live forever because through alchemy. Okay. So I'm assuming that's a big issue, to want to live forever because you're too afraid, you don't know anything else. The core teachings of Bota curriculum divided into 4 sections: Introduction to Tarot, the Cube of Space. This is why they all had a freak out when I started to talk about the Taurus and so on. Curriculum of the Tree of Life and the Great Work and the Mysteries of the Holy Kabbalah. Paul Foster Case, 1884 to 1954, founded the School of Ageless Wisdom and the Builders of the Adytum, which is active today. In the archive, we have cases, steps in practical occultism, the tarot fundamentals, the master pattern, which I've just brought to your attention, tarot interpretation lessons, and 32 path lessons, etc., and the life of the tree. Not strict beliefs that Sephira aligns to universal life through perfect memory, but also referred to as the master pattern. The course of evolution is an orderly development made possible because the universal life has perfect memory. In fact, the information is actually about eidetic memory, like I've said before, and you will have to go to the first video again, the first video that I made of Beyond Thunderdome, where I explain about eidetic memory, eidetic patterns within the realm. Okay, that means it presents to you the phantom limb syndrome, where you see a tree that once stood there, but it was chopped off, and the tree is still there. The eidetic, that is what that means, not as how they are saying perfect memory. Also referred to as the master pattern. The memory is not the master pattern. The memory is to show that there is creation taking place, like I've said before. This is a big deal for them, obviously. The course of evolution is an orderly development made possible because the universal life has perfect memory. Life does not have perfect memory. It is the spirit that creates a perfect memory. This is why the cosmic memory is associated with the master pattern with the number 4 and the 4th Sephira. So they eat, sleep, drink the tree of life. On a side note, this memory is related to the eidetic form of memory of the frequencies within the trapezoid, just so you know. Such living wise men, these instructions come to you because the builders of the adytum form a link in the long chain of oral tradition. We are the happy processors or possessors of keys to the cryptic meaning of the images and symbols of the true sages, end quote, as they talk about themselves in holiness. Okay, so this great work that is also termed magnum opus is defined by Eliphas Levi as the magnum opus is preeminently the creation of man by himself, that is the full and complete conquest which he can make of his faculties and his future. It is eminently the perfect emanation of his will, which assures full power over the great magical agent. In short, knowing all of this gives me magical powers that I can control people and the world for my own gain. And Eliphas Levi, I think, was a double agent because he had a different name in another book that he wrote, and I'll bring that up for you, but you didn't know that. So MacGregor Mathers in 1887, from the Latin version of Nor von Rosentoth, and collated with the original Chaldean version of Hebrew text, writes the Kabbalah unveiled also included in two parts of the Zohar, which is, quote here, the greater holy assembly and the lesser holy assembly. However, the book of concealed mystery, which is the concern with the beginnings of things and the creation of the world. Eyes open, eyes wide shut, right? One eye open, one eye closed. That which controls the past can control the future. One eye open, one eye shut. Kabbalah is also referred to as the center of all things, the point within the circle, what the sun. That is what the center is that is the center point in the sun, the circumpunct. It is a circle with a dot in it. So they concern themselves to be solar magical practitioners, that's what I'm calling it, concealed in lunar magic. So they can control both poles on the Freemasonry tracing board. The words I want to say, they also refer to as balance, as balancing two opposite forces. It's not correct. The way of balance is internal and aligns outward and not with any celestial. It is, if you're in a good space inside of you, your immediate environment should be balanced with you automatically. It's just the common sense there. Okay, so then I've taken some excerpts from Arthur Edward Waite, who wrote The Tree of Life and the Tarot as well. Quote here. So, the Tree of Life appears in many religions and cultures. In Islam, it appears in the Quran as the tree of immortality, the tree which is forbidden to Adam and Eve by Allah. Okay. In Catholic Christianity, it represents the immaculate state of humanity, free from original sin. Meanwhile, before the fall of man, it appears in Norse mythology as Yggdrasil, or the world map, and it appears as the main symbol for the Kabbalah, which comprises of 10 Sephiroth powers like Power Rangers, 10 of them, each different colors like the rainbow. Tree of Life is also the crossing of the image of man's ascendance in crucifixion. Incorrect ideology. The entire quote is incorrect. The ideology is badly presented and is false, leading you into your gonads via Kundalini Yoga, as it requires true form of ascension, of becoming whole in terms of the internal growth from the heart, from the center of the energy. That's how it actually operates, not anywhere else. It really is that simple. From the heart of understanding, the heart of emotions, from that expression from within, you're able to connect. Like I've said before, you don't need diagrams to tell you how to move within your life. You don't need a map. It's inside of you. You operate through your choices. Okay. He also says Kabbalah is about 5 senses. Okay. It's a 5 senses system and logic, and you can't see everything all at once because you're just too stupid to be able to understand anything more. So you can't see everything with whatever is illogical, and what is not illogical is not real. How to deal with life's monotheistic Abrahamic patriarchy or the solar deity who was willing to sacrifice his firstborn son or the firstborn right or soul in exchange to be part of to see himself as a god, which he did. That is what you need to keep in mind all the time when you look at these things. If they seek for you to sacrifice a part of yourself, then it means that you have to give up something for something else. There should never be sacrifices done, ever. There is choices that are made. It is without blood, or sometimes mostly with blood, depends. But to sacrifice the firstborn son is to sacrifice the firstborn right. Let me just share that part of the Abrahamic patriarchy solar system, which is mythologically speaking, if you look at the solar pillar on the Freemason tracing board, is the reference to Saturn as eating his children. Okay, so again, you're looking at mythologies and myths and stuff created to um, and they all mark it down as it's coming from God. That's why it's like this and it's like that. Yeah, it's coming from God, the previous guy that wrote this shit. Okay, so 10 mystical Sephiroth explained on a link here by a certain rabbi, um, and who quotes from Barney Kellogg, who is in cahoots with the Rothschilds. Anyway, says that what people seek when they are in Kabbalah is to seek a supersensory experience, which means what? What does that mean to you to seek a supersensory experience? It means that you're seeking to be extra thrilled when you do certain things. That's the simplicity of that. He also says that the higher state of consciousness is singularity. Do you want to be a Borg in the singularity, mind frame, mind hive, mind in the box with all the other bots in there as well? That's what singularity means. Okay, it's also a buzzword that's being used to enforce transhumanism and artificial intelligence, which is just a program written to and written probably in the same perspective as this diagram of this tree of life. So the higher state of consciousness is not singularity, it's about wholeness. It also explains here that it has to be concealed in order to be revealed. Okay, that just keep that in mind. Kabbalah means to conceal and to reveal. That's what it is, spoken in words and all the other stuff around it. To track it's a form of tracking how you should be thinking, and not that you are able to think freely in your own conscious thoughts. They force you to think in a specific way. It's like putting blinkers on your vision to not see more than what there is. Okay, I actually think that that's what's created most of the conditions for people to feel conflicted with things as well. All right. So then he also says in this video, he chalks it all down to a type of love and romance. So he's quote from an integral, seamless unity to a fragmented unity. In other words, fragmented. Right? Do you want to be a Smartie in a box? The all spark box with Smarties or Skittles inside of it, all different colors, but you're a Skittle with in a packet of Skittles. Original force of creative energy, which is what I'm saying to you because of that flawed statement. They say that it is designed so that God must see itself when it is fragmented. That is incorrect. The original creative force does not require a human vessel to see itself, to know that it exists. It exists within its infinite existence, therefore does not require an external thing to define its existence. The choice of knowing this in doing something that is the opposite is a proof that it is not from the original creative force. If you want to see creative force in harmony, you see it in nature, provided it is in a harmonious state, of course. You haven't chopped off all your trees and tried to imitate a desert in your home. Some people do that. They want to go to parks to enjoy the parks trees, and then they go cut off all their trees at home. They do that, or they kill all the animals around them because they want to live in a box. Some people do that. In his video, he also says, think of it as a laser beam. And the first thing I think of is Resident Evil, because there's that crisscross laser beam that goes into the slices these guys up in the tunnel of light while they're in the corridor, and it's lit up. So that's basically what it is, or shaft of light that you enter through into. It's also related to the shaft of light, or the frequency through which you enter into the birth canal after you've paid the ferryman your circumcised spirit particle as a token, so that they can control your life through your life path or patterns for them, in which your spirit is obviously unique. You have unique patterns that bombard you. That's how they see it. So they watch your pattern as you progress through life, and then they inherit certain things of your pattern because they are in control of that circumcised part of your spirit particle, or as in previous video, telos. But I've chosen since then to stop calling it telos, because I've noticed that since I mentioned the word telos, there's been like 110 million thousand books that have been written about the telos, which is absolute horseshit. It is about um, tying it up to some sort of uh, deity. Okay, it's not. It is a part of your spirit that's been taken away from you, that was severed from you. And I did explain how you can get it back. You're starting to get the picture, I think. It's all about what is taken away from you, what is being used in your name, um, which ties into the banking profiles of that whole thing about the straw man. Essentially, that straw man part is the telos, or the spirit particle that has been severed from you and kept in isolation. Okay, which is now what they're trying to do, is to create a digital straw man. Again, you have the choice. You have the choice, especially if you're someone who is able to have a some influence over certain things in your life. You can choose not to be severed anymore. I've given you the examples of how to do it. That particle of your spirit that's been taken away from you and placed into the trapezoid and kept in there as a marker of your life path, that becomes in the material realm drawn in to be the circumcised part of you, which can also become the straw man. That's how you should see it. So it does have its uses for them, because they can't create. So they can only take and replicate and copy and use things. Like I've said before, and I'll say this again, if you love yourself fully and fiercely, you create fundamentals of choices that you're able to use and make in your life, which may then come across as being rebellious, but it does help you to have an internal force that allows you to break away from certain belief ideologies or beliefs or contracts and things that you've gone through in your life. And I'm not saying stop working unless you wish to do that. Um, it's your choice. I'm saying you can function within this realm without it contaminating your consciousness. You can actually do that. You breaking away from yourself as a form of devolution, like you're this evil monger. And I just want to keep saying to you, keep going. Don't let this stop you from being in a loving, fiercely loving space within yourself, and for your children as well, those that are in your care. Keep presenting the consciousness in that way. Remember how I've explained. If you're unaware of how I've explained this, please go to the Talismanic Lunatic last video that I've made. Nothing is concealed from you when you are in absolute alignment with love, which is in alignment with your spirit, which is in alignment with the original creative force that keeps coming in. on the belief and the need for the pillars on the Masonic tracing board, and I'll explain to you why they believe they need to have that in their symbology. Is they require the focus of the sun, the moon, and the star, as I've read to you about the and shared with you the information on the many societies that have literally focused on the sun or the moon or the star, literally focusing on these things all the time, whereas the magic is underneath and really does a lot of work while they're taking spirits from all over and putting it into little boxes and little sigils and little stories and little this and little that, little mythologies to create a certain existence within the realm. Okay, and there's a lot of them that are doing that. Some are not even aware of the extent of what they're doing, but majority of them are and have chosen to actively do that. They need these three pillars because, according to mythology, which I think comes from Plato, the world was held up. Uh, the pillars were put there to hold up the sky so that the sky doesn't fall and it doesn't collapse with the earth. That's a myth that they're presenting. These structures are required to dominate certain parts of the consciousness within the realm as well as the realm itself. Remember, I said to you that Crowley's magical Argentum, whatever, magical group, the AA, has literally divided itself up into three orders, which represent the three pillars of the tracing board, of the Masonic tracing board, with the sun, moon, and stars next to, on the board itself. Third order is governed by the star and comprising out of three grades, even more above the abyss. The second order is comprised as below the abyss, but above the veil of Paruket. And the golden dawn is the first order, or the sun, like I'm telling you now, comprising the grades below the veil of Paruket. So a complete description of the tasks of the first order is given, a syllabus of the steps upon path, the equinox volumes, and then the additional grades, the dwellers of the threshold, link the orders Dominus, Luminous in Paraket, and Babe of the Abyss in the Abyss. Okay, so that's quoted from that wiki site. I'll explain to you. I'm trying to explain to you why the pillars matter. Okay, three pillars matter to every secret society. They want to dominate the sun by dominating the moon, by dominating the star. That is all they ever do. That's all they ever know. It's so set in its ways via the Kabbalah and Gnostic mythologies. So now there's a long list of how the order works in terms of what each one does, and each one has a degree. Okay, so the 0 degree, which is the whatever, called the probationer, whose business is to begin practices as he or she may prefer and to write a careful record of the same for at least 1 year. Okay, so someone who writes stuff down. Then a neophyte, which is 1 degree, and acquires perfect control of the astral plane. I think this is why everyone suddenly became obsessed with astral stuff. Then the 2nd degree is the zealoter, whose main work is to achieve complete success in asana and pranayama. Yeah. The zealoter also begins to study the formula of the rose cross. I just don't understand why all of this shit is necessary. The 3rd degree is expected to complete the intellectual training and is particular to study Kabbalah. The next one is the philosophers, which is the 4th degree, and I think they say here, is expected to complete the moral training. Okay, Dominus Liminis is expected to show mastery of so and so. The Order of the Rosy Cross, the Adeptus Minor. Now the 5th degree, okay, where they great work or Thelema and Holy Guardian Angel is lesser adept or without is expected to perform the great work and to attain the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, which is what? Who? Channel for who? What? In the system of the AA, the magical order, the single most important goal is to consciously connect with one's um, HGA. They call it HGA. I don't know what that. Probably higher self. And by doing so, the magician becomes fully aware of their own true will. Okay, I've explained to you in a very simpler way on how to actually attain your free will, your will under the laws of who you are and existence. I do urge you to please go and listen to the um, Talismanic Lunatic video. It's very important. It's got a lot of information in there, and most of the stuff I'm discussing is repeated in the previous video. Aleister Crowley's magical order requires the magician to know how to be in control of their true will. And then it says here, it should never be forgotten for a single moment that the central and essential work of the magician is the attainment of the knowledge and conversations of the holy guardian angel. Which one? Is it? Are there many of them? Is it Michael? Because Michael is in the lesser keys of Solomon as a demon. Or is it Elohim? Elohim is mentioned in the lesser keys of Solomon as a demon. Even the name Jesus is mentioned in there in the lesser keys of Solomon as a demon. So he goes forward here, great step crossing of the abyss and the attainment of the greater the master of the temple, all of this, and then the lesser adept is admitted to the practice of the formula of the rosy cross, entering the college of the Holy Ghost. Are they going into Catholic churches now to find the Holy Ghost, or is it the Holy Ghost is nothing other is a name for the holy guardian angel? It's the same thing. It is both in it is a spirit of a person that's passed away, put into an agency, put into clothes to look like the holy guardian angel or Holy Ghost, whatever that is, in whatever religious form that is connected into. Then the greater adept is now obtained. I swear these guys have had too much of time. They're obtaining general mastery of practical magic without comprehension. So do as you are told to do, right? Don't question us. Then great work, Thelema, is the crossing of the abyss. Now the crossing of the abyss is the astral realm. The first passage. When you first astral travel, the first place that you see is a place of energy in its basic form. You see a lot of spirits there as well. People that have not actually given themselves a chance to really expand more on their consciousness going forward. So it is they call it the abyss or the abyss. So after one attains knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel and completes in perfection all these matters, the adept may attempt the crossing of the of the abyss, the great gulf of or void between the phenomenal world of manifestation and its noumenal source. All right. Then he goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And I'm not going to read it all, but he says, if unprepared, then the unfortunate traveler will be utterly dispersed into annihilation, leaving the adept to become a brother of the left-hand path. If successful, the adept stripped of all their attainments and of their self as well, even of their holy guardian angel, and becoming a babe of the abyss, who, having transcended the reason, does nothing but grow in the womb of its mother, Babylon. Okay, so the rituals of rituals of rituals. So Babylon can be attained out of physical form, in astral form. You continue doing that a lot, over and over and over. If you don't do it right, you'll explode into nothingness. If you do it right, then you'll attain the chance of being inside Babylon's womb. The Order of the Silver Star, or the Magister Templi, is also the great work of the Lima, which is the city of the pyramids, and the Night of Pan, Pan, Pan's Labyrinth, Pan, where the eighth degree is Babylon. After you've become supercharged Super Power Ranger in magic, Babylon is on the other side of the abyss, beckoning in the sphere of Bina and the Tree of Life. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? I'm saying to you that each sphere of the Tree of Kabbalah has a specific purpose for it, and Crowley has made use of each of these balls on that diagram, or spheres, inside of the trapezoid. All they want is to go into the trapezoid and experience the trapezoid, which is a little diamond that is inside of the skin of the torus. They want to go in there because they don't think there's anything else beyond anything else, because that's all they believe. It's just there, it's all magical for them, and it's in the tesseract form. And so everything that you do, you just start seeing a lot of yourself all over the place. So technically speaking, I think all of the information pertains to that experience within the trapezoid. It does not, however, pertain to being much further and out of from all of this nonsense. Man has the capacity to become a saint or an angel or a demon. Man in his spirit form um, can be any of those things. There is very small percent of extraordinary beings that exist that do not and have never been in human form. All of these magical rituals are based on worshipping that which is dead, that which was once formerly a man who was put through magical practices inside of a vestiges of, or vessels of, or agencies of belief systems, through a certain way of manipulating language, which is pertained to be in a very old form of creating imagery. That is the essential bottom line of the entire piece of material that I'm sharing with you here. However, my argument is also to bring up these houses of the celestials that have been used as well in these rituals, and because these celestials also have spirits that came from men and women and children and animals that have trapped it into those those vessels, the celestials. Each and every sphere or symbol of the uh, Kabbalah tree has been utilized and placed within it rituals that is related to the magical rituals of the carnal base level frequencies of man, the base chakra. Each and every celestial that was used to conjure up and draw up certain rituals and magical practices during certain practices have been used to insert and draw into a human to be used as via carnal magical baseline stuff. Not only is it a violation of a human or an animal or a child, it doesn't matter. It's a violation of the entire existence of that being, that person, in any way, shape, or form, so that those who create the magical practices can gain material control over this realm in every way that it's possible. And they've been doing this for thousands of years. They've been doing it because they can. And they've been doing it because there's so much trust in people that are showing them things. And that people are lazy and that panders to their ego to want to not do as much energy work within themselves. I mean, loving the self is the worst, hardest thing ever. Just asking someone if they knew what self-love means, because they told me I'm sick and tired of this fucking self-love thing. I've been doing it. So I said, well, if you were so tired of the fucking self-love thing, then uh, if you were actually doing it, you wouldn't be fucking tired of the fucking self-love thing. Self-love is different than whatever they seem to think it is. Materialists cannot comprehend the understanding of what is within, especially if they're so separate from themselves. So, in all of these, and I'm not going to read all of these rituals because I don't want to, but I will leave the links there for you with the excerpt parts to it, are all used in the Kabbalah tree. Every single part of the Kabbalah ritual, the Kabbalah itself, is manipulated and used as a massive ritual to uh, alter and influence frequencies within the realm. Okay, magically. He does continue here with something that's very interesting, which I did want to bring up as well. The city of the pyramids is what he keeps talking about as you go through the tree now. Is the triangle with the two sides to it. Okay, don't forget one black and one white, like I've shown you before. That is the pyramid, but it's in two parts, opened up so that you can see it, is the home to those adepts that have crossed the greater abyss. So again, here it tells you in his words that their journey is to go to the trapezoid, to stay there and not ever do anything but have control over the realm here. And having spilled all their blood in the grail of Babylon, that is quote unquote, spilled all their blood in the grail of Babylon, which is probably what the plan is. If you hate yourself that much, then that's where you want to go, then go for it, knock yourself out. So believing in destroying the ego is like destroying the self in totality. You annihilate yourself, which I've noticed in his rituals is part of it. He basically is propagating that you actually become annihilated completely. You don't exist to nothingness, and then tagging, adding to it some amazing little label that says, okay, you've achieved the top of the, you're in top of it all now. You're king now. You've won the race. Um, all in all, you just become part of the very same agencies that the magicians after you in the living are using your spirit now to create what they want in this realm for themselves. According to Crowley, excuse me, as in Baphomet of the goat Pan or X, Panax, the division of the center point between the diamond corners is what is the desired place to go towards. I'll read this for you. He writes here, the city exists under the night of Pan or Nox. Pan is both the giver and the taker of life, and his night is that time of symbolic death where the adept experiences unification with the all through the ecstatic destruction of the ego self. Night is what is referred to as the underworld, which requires the moon for the light. So all it does is it bounces you all over the material realm in your spirit form. That's basically what that is. And then he says, and then he refers to it as that's where the is symbolic death, blah, 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 unification. Okay, that's where the unification takes place. In other words, that's the crossing within the trapezoid, like I've shown you, where it crosses with another trapezoid. And that is the symbol that I've shown you of the torus with the Yahweh entity frequency in it, with the trapezoid in the middle. It's all about the focus on that. That's where they wish to go. From the first video that I made, I explained something very interesting, and I said to you, the most important thing, the biggest desired thing to have is psychokinetic power. Psychokinetic power, when you are in alignment with self-love, when you are in alignment and in proximity to receiving the connection from the original creative force, allows you to have infinite psychokinetic power. And that means that you are able to influence and change things for yourself in that loving capacity. This is why only some can actually have this and use it, while others are absolutely not able to achieve it at all because of their degree and path in terms of loving themselves or self-love. Okay. Uh, these guys believe that they are able to generate psychokinetic power through sex magic and tantric magic by bending themselves into receiving that receptive frequency. They can only achieve it when they do their rituals. That's the belief of it. So they create artificial psychokinetic power, which is based on the actual tantric orgasm, I think, now to call it like that. At the same time, they also want to destroy whatever order there is that they believe in, and using words as sigils and programs to actually control the influences and influence the realm itself. It says here, the state of the dying god is also referred to the state of formless state. To die is not formless. Dying is a form of being. That is what it means. Okay, let me just explain that to you. Dying is not formless. Dying is a state of form that is being as a state of transition. Remember that. They call this a state of ipsissimus. I've heard it before. I've heard it mentioned before, where some people think that they're actually in that state. They refer to the ipsissimus as the master of all modes of existence, because that's all it's about. It's about wanting to be king of the castle. It means free from limitations, probably a vegetable like I added here. The master of all modes of existence, that is, his being is entirely free from internal and external necessity. His work is to destroy all tendencies to construct or to cancel such necessities. So wait a minute now. If you believe now, according to this now, free from limitations, right? The master of all modes of existence, then how can you be free from all limitations when you are in control of all existences? If you are free from all limitations, then your interest to logically want to control all modes of existence is not there. Right? Think about it. He then says his being is entirely free from internal and external necessity. Okay, so now free from internal and external necessity, then why are you interested in controlling all forms of modes of existence? Then he says his work is to destroy all tendencies to construct. Now, the action destroy itself requires form and energy to destroy something, right? He wants to destroy all tendencies to construct or to cancel such necessities. So he wants to destroy it and cancel it all at the same time. But then you need form, right? You need form to be able to do that. And yet you say you are formless. Okay, do you understand the mind fucking that's happening in these works? The ipsissimus has no relation as such with any being. By the way, I think the word ipsissimus, if I reverse it back, it looks like someone is a spy. If you change it back, I really do think that is what it actually was. Someone is a spy. Anyway, he says he has no will. The ipsissimus has no will in any direction and no consciousness of any kind involving duality. And yet you want to destroy and cancel things out. Okay, I can see. Anyway, beyond the word of the fool, beyond the word of the fool. That's what he keeps repeating. Okay, so basically it's a blob that has, yeah. Coming towards the latter part, I brought up the information on the silver star, which is the center point, and they refer to the silver star as Sirius. The star is placed in the middle pillar of the masonry tracing board, but refers in reality to the fixed stars. In other words, to be able to control astrology. So, and they have tied to it the Sirius star. Always the solar, lunar, and the silver star, always in every way, shape, or form. If it's extremely yellow, it's sun. If it's white and silver and holy and angelic, it's moon. If it's star and it's all rainbowy, it's like weirdly Lucis like. That's it. Okay, you'll see it. That's the three things that they keep working with. They keep working it. I think they don't know anything else. And yet your self-love threatens them in such ways that they have no way to actually comprehend. You are a threat to the existence of their existence. All right, so coming towards the latter part where I wanted to bring in as well something very interesting, Kabbalah. like I said to you, has sprang up first in Spain, but that's because they were chased away and exiled to go there. Oddly enough, the interesting thing about the silver star also reminds me of the silver coin, which relates to plus ultra, which is related to the pillars for the economy in the is the famous plus ultra used as there is more beyond um, or further beyond. There is a video that I did, Kaput Manus. Have a look at that. There I discuss the information that I'm bringing up now as well. Now, that is the mythology of that image. Hercules was holding up the three pillars. This is why I keep saying the pillars are so extremely important to them. Um, the masons have only documented it as such, but essentially you can see that there is not one society that is not pandering to either the sun, moon, and the star in formation. I've used the Kabbalah as a device that incorporates all of it together, which lines up to the control of the energy and everything within the material realm, using the spirits that have been deceased from various orders to enact certain chaos and control over the um, lives of people. Um, and the only way to counter all of that is self love. That's the essential nutshell that I wanted to share with you. So, okay, the will of the original creative force holds it as it stands, um, the heavens and the earth. It does not need to be defined by pillars because pillars are just not external things that are mythologized and religified or made into religions and belief systems to show dominance. The fact is, they are enforcing the idea that the three pillars need to remain by enforcing Kabbalah, um, which is made up of the three pillars in unison next to one another, and you'll see that the three pillars are basically essentially part of the Kabbalah system, the diagram itself. So these pillars also form the diamond inside of that system, inside of the Kabbalah system. So it's all about the diamond. It's all about the control of the poles. It's all about the control of the sun, the moon, and the star via using the celestials, spirits, to enact rituals. So, in summary, from the book The Holy Kabbalah of A.E. Waite, he writes here Kabbalah is built within the Tohu, or line which circles snake like around the world. There's your Taurus, okay? Followed by Bohu, Bohu, concealed rocks embedded in the abyss, whence water corresponds to conception formed from Azalutic or archetypal world. Already there's that. So I've already covered all of these things in all the other videos before this. And what is the difference between Tohu and Bohu? I said it reminded me of the tunnel in which that guy got lasered to pieces, um, which was a tunnel of light. In that scene, I'll put a picture up for you to see from that movie, The Resident Evil, which I think already was trying to tell you something about the system itself. The the Red Queen, which is the base chakra in feminine form. Both have to do with light and darkness, don't forget. And he writes here, taken in this context, the Tohu is the outermost sphere, which I've just explained to you is the system overlay. Whereas, the outermost sphere, or the torus, rather, whether the stones of Bohu lie deeply in the lowest depths, which are the trapezoid tiles inside of the skin of the torus. And why is this so important? Because this is basically telling you the whole model itself. The skin of the torus is diamond shaped, which is the skin of a snake. The trapezoid are the rocks, or the black rocks, or black rock productions, or whatever you want to call it, of illusions, and is also used to do a lot of magical rituals within. Okay, you have to really break yourself down to go into one of those trapezoids. And this is the lowest depth at the center of the universe, which is what they call the center of the universe, which is really just the center of their verse, their verses that they speak continuously in magic. Universe, yoniverse, that's one word that comes from the one word speaking language, made up of concealment and revealing. Okay, light and dark. They also use the four elements, which is based on earth, air, fire, water, which are alchemical elements that they use when they do their rituals. You can imagine what is used in all of those forms. Within that, they also explain here, quote, sculpted throne of honor to honor the seraphim, or ophanic or celestial wheels, holy animals or the zodiac. In other words, the four living creatures of each ministering spirit within this dominion, end quote, which means the system overlay, as we've discussed, within the torus, which is made up of the field that has the trapezoid within it to make it light and dark. Within the Kabbalah, there are 10 ineffable spirits put in place. These 10 are just merely the 10 commandments that are used to control through law everything that they wish for you to go through. It is a law to not protect yourself in South Africa if someone breaks into your house. That sort of law, to sacrifice your firstborn son if you want to prove your loyalty to me, type of thing. Brainwashing. Their laws. Their laws are not our laws, not my law at all. These 10 numerations, classed as 10 effable spirits of God, is portrayed as God. Sealing names are combinations of 3 letters successfully transposed with the tetragrammaton, which is the trapezoid. Okay, 10 commandments of laws, like I've said. Now, on a side note, sealed in spirits that are presented as not only angels in offices similar to the lesser key of Solomon, like we've discussed, now broken, of course, while the celestials are also tied into it to hold the structure in place. Because, you got to have the energy in the background, the psychokinetic force of what a spirit is as energy to run this machine, not so. And so while the celestials are also tied into the narratives of those who inscribe the laws continuously through mythology, through whatever form that they projected into the believers of it and the ones that acted out through control. Always control through the red queen with the base chakra, blood red, blood in, blood out. There is a belief that Aleph is combined with other expressions such as Beth with all the other letters, and all the others are all in the rest of Beth, and so on, to produce their universe. Their universe. This is what this is all about. This is why there's been such a fight and a war all the time, is to have dominion over a percepted belief of a universe, of whatever verse they want to create. Okay. The word Aleph also means ox or Taurus or Taurus. The name Aleph is derived from the West Semitic word for ox, as in the biblical Hebrew word Eleph, meaning ox, and the shape of the letter derives from the Proto-Sinaitic glyph that means that may have been based on Egyptian hieroglyphs, which depict an ox's head. So the ox's head, obviously decapitated ox's head, is then the ownership of the mind of the Taurus, if you have to look at it that way, much like what they did with John the Baptist when they severed his head. In the same way, they project the same information over and over and over, controlling the head by spinning things for you to believe in. It's a form of ritual magic. And the only way to counter that is to keep fiercely loving yourself and to keep going forward and using your choices, which you have, which will build up to become your will. The ox or the bull, as in also the bullish market, is also referenced as and can be controlled or used to be controlled, such as in the structure of the Kabbalah, like I've said before. And why does the ox matter in this case? Either they think that they are like the Roman god Mithras, which they think to supplant and control every universe or world um, via their thoughts. Obviously, they think that. Or they believe that they are Apollo, who told Mithras to slaughter a bull in order to prove his position next to Apollo or Helios as the sun god of the time. And there's a guy whose surname is Bloomberg, the London Mithraeum, should give you an understanding of someone who has a god complex, who thinks he's Mithras. And he believes he is Mithras because he has the Mithraic, he built on the Mithras, the grounds where the cult was, a Mithras cult was. Okay, and was set in place to actually control that entire square as a business section, where even the queen has to ask permission to enter that business region or company. Story about Mithras really is quite a involved story because it's got a lot of things added to it. But the basic summary of Mithras is Mithras was a god. His name was Mithras. Mithras played a very important role as the element in the mythos that could be used to control the celestials or archons, because archons or celestials were also seen as gods at the time. So gods would recognize gods, if you look at it that way. And in order to reach these celestials, one must become a god to do that. So Mithras's mother, named Metis, who is a reworked explanation or version of Kronos' wife Rhea, was so in love with her own son that she basically castrated him when he fell in love with another woman. Now you understand where the castration part comes in, okay? And she let him bleed to death, and when he died, she felt so bad. She actually got him to. She tried to bring him back to life again, but she used the castrated organ to do so. I'm giving you a very, very watered down version of that mythology. It's a really macabre mythology, but that's essentially the process. If you look at the metaphysics aspect of how the realm is actually controlled and in what way it's being projected into, and you tell me how the spirit has never had an influence in the material realm at all, right? I'm leaving that as a rhetorical question. And so when he came back after he was murdered by his mother, he was so angry that he was actually against everything that there was. I think this is where they've written in extra parts to describe him as a very unhappy, jaded man. But the story all over suggests that he eventually had to endure his process of obviously growth, and he grew to hate women, including his mother, which can explain to you why these idiots that are in control of these societies are so extremely against women or men in various ways, and why certain men are made to be circumcised, because then they need to know their place, right? The order of the dualistic notion under the sun and moon and star pillars is now no more. That is the end of these pillars being used, because these pillars have also been manipulated, or these beliefs of the celestials being the sun and the moon and the stars have been controlled and used for too long to control the age. The order to control Mithras Kabbalistically through magic is required to summon spirits out from the realms of the dead, or the abyss. They call the realm of the dead the abyss, okay? And they wish to be in control of the abyss, or they call it the underworld, which is really, the underworld is your base chakra, your base level. And to perform acts in a horrific, grotesquerie manner, as I've said before, to in all ways to harness and to pander to the desires as they believe the gods have, to use those parts through to gain psychokinetic power or vril. Okay, don't freak out now every time you hear the word vril. If you don't understand the word Vril, go back to the first video, Beyond Thunderdome. That should explain it all for you. So remember that the onus is to control a spirit through an agency via language, ritual, magic, and sacrifice for material gains only. Why is the magic of the ox so important? Because the following part of the material announces that the 1,000 years of their reign is now over. In the ancient Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, Aleph is for an ox, as I've said, and the two horns and body of the ox were very clearly explained in the drawings. Gimel is for camel, Gimel, camel, and the hump is right there. Ayin is for the eye, and it is a circle, and so forth. The first alphabet has been arranged in the form of a menorah, suggesting of the illumination and the enlightenment that the revolutionary invention of that language has brought at the time. At the time. Okay. Doesn't mean that it's still there. Okay, because it's been diluted so much. Okay, so on a side note, a letter is dead, like I've said before, but can be inscribed to hold power. The letter represented in occult powers of a fixed, determined character, and the initiation into the real meaning of Kabbalah tradition would discover their own nature, explaining secrets behind doctrines of virtues inherent in words and letters that have magical glowing properties. Okay, but that is considered as illumination or illumined words, or that they see themselves of light. Okay, again, this is a case of dilution of pure essence. The Yahweh symbol, or the HVH, is an angle. It's based up is a subset of angles of the way that light hits, and is nothing more than a tertiary form of energy which had been created through agencies that had sought it out to begin with. Like I said, Yahweh was not just one singular, it was a plural, a bunch of them that wanted to be Yahweh, much like they're still trying to do now, because that to them is the highest form of a god. And if they can kill that person who represents the Yahweh of that time, then it means they've supplanted that God and taken over his control over the throne. It's all about the story. Okay? The only way you get your spirit particle back to you is by going into yourself, to focus on who you are, to focus on self-love, to start somewhere, and you dismantle, you literally derail the entire system, such as what is happening as we speak, where the playing field has been evened out. So the tree of life is the device, like I've said to you from the start. In essence, the last part of this video, as I'm saying to you this, is the dismantling of the celestials being used in the ritualized symbols of the images of the meanings of the tree of life, or the tree of Kabbalah. And they are the following: the crown, Keter for the crown, Chokmah for wisdom, Bina for understanding, Hesed for compassion, Kavura for discernment, Tiferet for beauty, Netzach, endurance and victory, Hod, splendor, Yesod, foundation, Malkut, kingdom in the 11th Sephirah, and the Da'at appears at the intersection of the sin of at the intersection between the nodes 2, which is wisdom and compassion. Okay, according to them, that is the center point. So the diagram is also used in Christian Kabbalah, Hermetic Kabbalah, and Theosophy. The nodes are also associated with deities, angels, celestial bodies, moral values, single colors, and combinations of all of them in specific ways. Purity of creation does not require a letter. Remember this. This is my note to share, that in order to understand the purity of creation, you do not require a letter or a symbol or a ritual or to have anything sacrificed in order for you to experience true creation. True creation happens, or pure creation happens daily within your consciousness, in your spirit, when you are fully whole and empowered within your entire existence through self-love, through the heart, mind, body, spirit, and soul. You become aligned with who you are, and through that you become able to create what you require coming towards you. Like I said, the only way you can create is if you actually go and do the job, do the work, go and look for that, do that. And what if you've looked for jobs and you've never been able to find it? Then find out, are you worthy of actually receiving it? Then you have to go even deeper and break up and destroy and make null and void some old belief systems that you used to have of yourself, and get over that, and you will achieve what you're looking for. Okay. Spirit in containers, that's the problem. That's what they keep using, because they can't dare look at who they are because of what they've done. It is out of guilt that they continue carrying on with the same frequency, because they don't know. They know, they now know what the actual path is, but they choose to, some break away from it, and I can actually pick up on it. Some are actually moving away from it, while others are actually trying to throw others under the bus, while others are just going mindlessly going through with the whole thing because they can't handle themselves, and they don't dare even do that. It's just too much sin on the thoughts. The lesser keys of Solomon was the symbol, or the last discussion of explaining to you how the containers or agencies were created to use inside of the Kabbalah as well. The lesser keys of Solomon fits neatly in the Kabbalah, in the diagram of the tree of the Kabbalah. God is always hidden and personified, and always needs a middleman to enact the wish that they seek. Very important. Remember when I explained to you what the Kabbalah describes itself as a circle with a dot in the middle, remember? Now, the lesser key of Solomon says here the circle is to be made 9 foot wide, and these names has to be written around it, and it is one line beginning at so and so and goes on, and you can come around, and in the middle is where you stand. Right? Does that make sense? These letters around the perimeter of the circle are also transcribed in Hebrew letters within a coiled serpent. In a footnote, he adds, in English, letters they run with Kether, Metatron, Chot, Ha'dush, and all of these words, spheres of the Primus Mobile, and then of the fixed stars for the sphere of the zodiac, which is the control of the system overlay, like I've explained, and the trapezoid, which is aligned in the sphere of Saturn, which means time. And within Mars and Jehovah and Elohim and Eloha, and these are all names of angels as well, following along, are all lined up with the sun. And Jehovah, Tsabayot, and Nietzsche, and etc., and names are also linked up with Venus and Elohim. This is all mentioned in the Solomon's keys, okay? Tsabayot holds Michael, Beni Elohim, and Mercury together. Are you understanding? These are rituals that we are dismantling as I'm speaking to you. By the end of this, there will be no more pillars. None of these things will be there anymore. It will all have been made null and void, and be done with it. Like I said, the playing field has been evened out now. All that was hidden from you is now observed by you. Elohim, Bina, Aralin, and all of these have been put in there as well. Elohim, lots of Elohim, Seraphim, Michael, Raphael, Haniel, Metatron, Jehovah, Masloth, Jophiel, all put in. Yeah, okay, etc., etc., etc. Seraphim, Sabayot. Right. And then he says the following incantation, quote, I conjure you by your special name and true name of your God, that ye are obedient unto me, and by my name, by your name, your king. I am your king. We beareth rule over you, that forthwith you come without tarrying, and fulfill my desires and command, and persist unto ye end and according to my intentions, and I conjure you up by my will. Creatures are obedient, and by the ineffable name of Tetragrammaton Jehovah, we being heard, ye elements are overthrown, the air is shaken, the sea runneth back, the fire is quenched, the earth trembleth, and all ye hosts of celestials, terrestrials, and infernals do tremble, and are troubled and confound together, that you visibly and ineffably speak unto me with a clear voice intelligibly, and without any ambiguity. Therefore come ye into the name Adonai Sabayot, Adonai, Adonai, etc., etc. Hasten Adonai, blah, 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 blah. Lots of wordies here. And I make that null and void. Just keep in mind that the word Adonai is also related to the Christian God. So I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that you need to start thinking about. Tetragrammaton is used for a lot of these things, and they also continues by saying the uncertain sea of glass and etc., etc. And I don't want to bring all these words up because these actually hurt them when you say them. When you say these things all the time, you can actually pick up on their hurting. So there's a continuous obsessive calling out to these spirits, which is what they also try to use on me and people that I know of, where they try to send these demons to people. Um, if you are in the highest frequency of the connection with the original great creative energy force, or great spirit as I call it, then when they come to you, they are naked and they return back, or they leave. They leave their agencies. This is how it works. So Jehovah is used in the Tetragrammaton as well. I'll put the links at the bottom there for you to look at. Earth and hell and all things contained in it by their power, blah blah blah, and compel and force and control and everything, and blah blah blah, and controlling all the spirits and the creatures. Then laying out the distinctions of these, very important, the exit in the verse. And God said, let there be light, and there was light, means, according to them, the wisdom, that there was light. And they see it as not visible light, but they see it as a synonym for the emanation of the Creator. Let me just help you right here. The meaning wisdom comes from love. It comes from within you. Light and dark is revealed within you as both sides of who you are. You are in control of who you are, and you are able to control both sides of yourself. Only light in itself is polarized. It is energy in an emanation of light or dark. Both are the same. All right. Energy coming from the original creative force does not descend ever. It reaches you. What you do with it, how it comes to you as inspiration, is your choice in how you act it out. I've given you the many ways of how to understand where you can place yourself in proximity to it, or in proximity to who you are, to where you are. But they do use it a lot in tarot, from Torah to tarot, and they use the seven known planets as septenaries, as celestials associated with gods or spirits, and the heavens sides ancient times. It is a fact that there are seven double letters and a sigil for each of these in Hebrew language. Okay, then 7 planets are corresponded. Okay, so then it says the 7 planets are corresponded to the 7 lower Sephiroth of the Tree of Life below the supernal triad of fire. In other words, right there at the bottom where the Red Queen sits, your baseline, and they keep it there, and they keep working everything down to there. Okay. Coincidentally, if you look at the Sephiroth symbol, it also reminds me of hopscotch. Here's a little excerpt for you to see that hopscotch is very similar to exactly the same frequency. They put it everywhere in the world. This is also synonymous to the popular playing ground where players toss a small object called a lager or a legger into numbered triangles or a pattern of rectangles outlined on the ground. Hopscotch is just another form of it, right? So to play hopscotch, a court is first laid out on the ground. Notice the wording. Depending on the available surface, the court is either scratched out in the dirt or drawn with chalk or pavement. Courts may have permanently marked where playgrounds are commonly paved, as in elementary school. Designs vary, of course. I've just thought I'd bring this in because it relates to the same thing. Um, Planetary spell work from this link from the site used through the Tree of Life was done via astrological or celestial work in the following manner. Using the spirit of the celestial to alter or change through their will, craft and talismanic rituals, whatever they use. The reconstruct the physical plane, gatherings, components, mentally using thought forms, mentally constructed can be used as a memory palace as well, to place certain pictures or people in it and then hurt that person or remove that person. They also use cybermancy now, emotional plane, stalking, using body to associate with emotional needs, to exact that same frequency from you through tantric magic or sex magic by drawing in the celestial that is currently at play. This is why everyone goes fucking nuts through the full moon period, because they make hay while the sun is shining, so to speak. And so, coming towards the last part, the Sephiroth controls the formation of the celestials in each zodiac. Remember, I said to you that the control was to focus on dominion over each age, and they could try and do it as many times as they were able to do. To control the dignity of the domicile, that is the house, clearing up the celestials that have been used to control and give them dominion over certain houses, like Mercury for money, like the moon when everybody freaked out with the moon, and so on, and Mars for war, etc., etc. And revoking the agencies or names assigned for the purposes of freeing up the spirits that have been trapped inside of the agencies or celestials within the system overlay as follows. From the crown, the awareness of the consciousness through spirit is in the form of love, lined up to the original creative force or great spirit. No crown is needed. No crown of thorns is needed. Nothing to crown. Only babies crown through birth. From Chokmah, wisdom ruled by the zodiac as misrepresented. The system overlay is ruled as the crown for the zoo to function in the trapezoid. Wisdom comes from within the spirit of an aligned being in alignment with their higher purpose of seeking eternal connection with the original creative force or being or great spirit. Knowing wisdom frees you from being controlled by the animal farm in your crown, your animal tendencies that may be part of your consciousness. Bina, understanding, ruled by Saturn. Saturn, the once original solar source of energy, was supplanted by Apollo. Saturn, also associated with time. Time is measured in moments in ether by way of cause and effect, symbolic of death, material harvest, karma, restrictions, discipline, life cycles, death, initiation, responsibilities, perseverance, limitation, sacrifice, fear, binding, harshness, destruction, aging. Da'at, knowledge, assuming that the art is place of soul. There is no place for soul other than within you. Nowhere else is it found. Alongside your spirit, the satellite of your spirit. Wisdom is accumulated from within the awareness of your spirit through love, self love, and the more you love yourself, the more you care, the more you align. In Chesed, Mercury, ruled by Jupiter, not God anymore, surrendered into it its own merits. Jupiterian movements are for creative endeavor, the muscle of willpower, expansion, abundance, philosophy, growth, luck, optimism, prosperity, freedom, opportunity, generosity, justice, higher purpose. Gabura, strength, ruled by Mars. Strength to be restored within the self. Willpower becomes lion like as the fierce force of choice being discerned. More choices create more will. More will, more power to move forward. Manifestation, inspiration, boundaries, lust, anger, energy, motivation, passion, sexuality, vitality, protection. Tiferet, beauty ruled by the sun. Beauty is within you, not ruled by anything other than by yourself. In how you see and in what you way you see you, beauty is fulfilled in the process of the spirit. Power, life, expression, vitality, strength, health, creativity, esteem, joy, manifestation, motivation, condense, magnanimity, leadership, fatherhood, and masculinity. The sun is restored to its original purpose. Netzach, victory, ruled by Venus. Love is the highest form of victory. The more love, the more self will. The more self will, the more victory. As you become more whole, victory is whole. When you are unaffected by the material realm dynamics and its pollution, love, fertility, attraction, relationship, valuables, romance, pleasure, beauty, sensuality, sexuality, affection, friendliness, aesthetics, erotica, and luxury. Hod, splendor, ruled by Mercury. Splendor is not ruled by Mercury, but by the personal self enrichment of what you have accomplished, to marvel as harmony within nature, to know that you can and do achieve what you seek out to attain with the awareness of wholeness. If you are able to love yourself and forgive, and to move and serve and sever old bonds from the old belief systems that strive to sever you from your heart. Communication, intellect, study, knowledge, travel, perceptions, logic, dexterity, mystery, technology. Yesod, foundations ruled by the moon. Foundations are exposed now and will be more and more exposed by becoming more focused on the internal spirit and the connection within who you are, and formulate your own foundations as a rule to know where you came from and where you are going. Subtlety, psychic abilities, emotions, magical compassion, wisdom, intuition, hearth and home, nourishment, security, imagination, patience, empathy, fertility, motherhood, femininity. I should scratch out magic and say psychokinetic power. Malkuth, kingdom, ruled by the four elements. Nature is in harmony. It is ruled by earth, air, fire, water, spirit, and ether. Within the nature, material, as in matter, but also within the material vessels of which you exist within. Uranus, creation, newness, freedom, non traditionalism, intuition, cleverness, invention, revolution, science, changes, excess, individuality discovered, deviation, electricity, eccentricity. Neptune, love, intuition, psychic abilities, healing, creativity, illusion, empathy, imagination, sensitivity, transcendence, compassion, dreaming, and vision. Pluto, death, rebirth, transformation, binding, destruction, the self-conscious, the subconscious, destiny, life cycle, intensity, triumph, absolute power. Pluto relates to the soul or operating system for the spirit to interact through. Soul is immutable consciousness that cannot be exploited, experiences and regulates emotions in energy. Soul is immutable energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. And that concludes to the evolution or growth is implied via evolution. Certain things have to be destroyed so that other things can grow internally and then externally, always from within. The realm, as you would have called it, is grounding, stability, a medium for growth for what is being presented in the metaphysical aspects. The celestials, as I've named them and I've reassigned them in their agencies, what it is meant to be, has been repurposed and reset back to the way that it was supposed to be. Celestials form bonds and movement in cause and effect because of the movement of which each season and time is related to. The celestials cannot dominate the system overlay, but does function within it in harmony because nature is in harmony. Despite them saying that Pluto is not an actual planet, I would say that it is definitely related to a thing that they've tried to hide from you to remove its essential existence. That is your soul, a representation of your soul. And the link to explain that a little bit more is also from The Evolutionary Journey of the Soul from Jeffrey Wolf Green. It is all done now, and so be it. Thank you.